2. Want to send me a text. Next chance for you to grab $1,000 is coming up around 4:30. Just about every hour throughout the weekday. Starts in the 7 o'clock hour with RMG, ends around 9:30 with Corey Roddick. Giving away plenty of money for you guys to help with the bills and whatever else is going on. So $1,000 coming up at 4:30 and then 5:30 and 6:30 here on this show. And then that will continue with Corey tonight. Channel 19 News, along with the Cavaliers, along with WMMS and WTAM, we're hosting a live telethon on Saturday night to offer COVID-19 relief for the United Way of Greater Cleveland and the Food Bank of Greater Cleveland. A number of us are going to be involved in this. It's going to air live on Channel 19 Saturday night from 8 to 10. It will also air live here on WMMS and on WTAM 1100. So there's going to be some people from the Cavs. Some of us will be involved in this.
Yeah, maybe some stuff.
It's going to be hopefully very, very helpful for a lot of people in Northeast Ohio. So it's called All for the Land COVID-19 Relief Live. Saturday night, 8 to 10 p.m. on CBS 19. It'll also be over on CW 43. And then here on MMS and TAM. So, tune into that. Should be interesting. We mentioned this earlier, but the president extended the shutdown to the end of April. Kind of did a 180 there because he was all hopped up to get everybody out. And I think that the doctors in charge impressed upon him how disastrously bad of an idea that would be.
The peak, the highest point of death rates, remember this, is likely to hit in 2 weeks.
I like how he told us what a peak is.
Mm-hmm. Hey, he's speaking to everyone.
Nothing would be worse than declaring victory before the victory is won. Therefore, we will be extending our guidelines to April 30th to slow the spread. The next 2 weeks, and during this period, it's very important that everyone strongly follow the guidelines. The better you do, the faster this whole nightmare will end.
Okay. So there's that whole thing.
My president, your president, our president. Just saying.
He also went on to tweet about how great the ratings were for his news conferences.
Bachelor finale.
What's that chant again, Poundcake?
My president, your president, our president.
There you go. As the death toll surpassed 2,000 over the weekend, he went on Twitter to tell everybody that the ratings for his news conferences were better than The Bachelor. So focused on the real important stuff. You know, I keep reading about how the Cheesecake Factory is the first big restaurant chain to inform their landlords that they won't be paying rent.
Like they won't or they can't?
Well, they can't, so they won't. Cheesecake Factory has more than 200 restaurants across the U.S., They've taken a couple $2 billion in annual revenues, and they have told their landlords that you're not going to be getting any rent from us in April. And I'm thinking, man, you know, you hear about some of these athletes kicking in to supplant the income that arena workers are losing. And
yeah, Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield can't kick in for Cheesecake Factory.
It's your favorite rendezvous spot. Keep
And this
it
is a
going.
guy.
Save the chain.
At least not even the chain, but just the Crocker Park location. I don't know how many Cheesecake Factories are in the greater Cleveland metropolitan area.
There's got to be like at least 5 or 6.
Don't know. I know the one closest to me is out at Crocker Park, and you'd think, given his history with the location, that Baker Mayfield might feel like he'd kick in a couple of shekels.
Well, he doesn't really. He just has.
He needs
people
the
meet
parking
there.
lot.
He needs the parking lot more than anything.
Well, it's Cheesecake Factory is who got all the mentions in that story, right?
I know.
They're the ones that they got branded as his premier alleged Hander location.
Why
or whatever the hell was
Out
going
there.
on over there? Beach location.
Why don't they have like operating costs like saved up?
I'm sure they do, but they're like, well, we're closed now, so we're not going to pay our rent. And they probably figure that their leverage is that the chain is so big that no landlord's going to go, get out.
It's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out, because it's going to be crushing financially to this country.
Yeah. I saw that the CEO of the Texas Roadhouse is donating his salary and his bonuses to pay employees of that company.
Good for him.
With the money that he makes. Because a lot of times you got to read the fine print on these things. They'll say, well, a CEO is donating his salary, which, I mean, that's good. Mm-hmm. But, you know, these guys in these big companies, the salary will be like $2 million, but then they get $30 million in bonuses, right? Mm-hmm. The salary is usually kept low, so it looks good for the books. But then they're like, well, but he made $48 million last year because of what, you know. But something's better than nothing. And obviously these guys aren't, I think a lot of these guys are doing this because they figure that the board will end up cutting their pay anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so might as well get ahead of it.
Might as well get ahead of it.
Like in the NBA, they cut all the executives' pay by 20%, and they said like over 100 executives. I'm like, how many executives do you need? Why are there so many executives? It's a lot of executives.
There's a lot of money in sports.
Yeah.
They have a lot of people.
Executives. I'm just saying, change up the titles.
But they're not cutting players' salaries, are they?
No, because those are contracts that are like guaranteed, and I don't think the players would do that.
Yeah, but contracts are for the employer, not the employee.
No, the NBA's got a real good collective bargaining agreement.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah. NBA, that's guaranteed money.
All right. Hey, Jim.
Hey, how you doing? First-time caller.
How are you, Jim?
I'm all right. Hey, I just speaking my opinion here, man. I think it's a bad idea that Trump's extending this because I think it's just going to make the economy worse because nobody's working now. And I just feel like people start fighting and there'll be a food shortage. I seen gas somewhere 136 when it rained. It was like 99 cents, 96 cents. And I just want to speak my opinion, man. I think it's bad idea.
But what if...
Okay.
What are the results, though, if everybody comes back to work and then this virus spreads and the hospitals are overrun and there's a whole nother problem that goes on? There's.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. I know this is scary for me.
Now, what do you do,
know?
Jim? You're a working man?
Yeah, I am.
What do you do?
I work for a cleaning company, actually.
Okay. I would think that you'd still be working hard.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I really don't want to do it because I think I'm more, we got half the people working at home, half of them working there, and I'm over there cleaning, wiping the same stuff every day.
I see, yeah.
And if somebody does have it, I think I'd be closer to getting it than the average person if it is out here. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think you make a good argument, though, for not letting everybody out of their homes because you're not going to have, it's going to be a much bigger hit to business if everybody comes back and then has to take sick time because nobody can work,
Right. But when this is all over with, is it going to be good to walk up to your buddy and shake his hand then? It would be all good, right?
I wasn't.
Kiss him on the mouth.
Kiss him on the mouth with full tongue, Jim. Mm-hmm. I already wasn't a handshake guy, so you're asking the wrong dude. I'm a fist bump guy, but
I know. I'm just saying. But there are, if you think about it, there are a lot of ignorant people because people should have been washing their hands. You go to the bathroom, get off the pot, man, you go wash your hands or whatever. It's just something that you naturally do, I would think. So, that's something that should have been like that. And as far as cleaning, RTA buses, they should have been doing that.
Yeah, well, woulda, coulda, shoulda. I mean, hindsight's 20/20. But as you know, in the cleaning biz, Jim, those things cost money, and there are a lot of people when times are flush where they think that that's a. It would be, for instance, if let's say you had an entire infrastructure for pandemic preparation, right? And then somebody in charge decided to get rid of all that because we'd probably never need it. It would be crazy like that.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But anyway.
All right. Well, stay safe out there, Jim.
Hey, you too, man. God bless you guys.
Thank you. All right. There's Jim, who's probably, he's still working because he's in the cleaning biz. People are needed a lot right now.
There's going to be a lot of redistribution of employment through all this, too.
What do you mean?
Going from, like, bartenders and people that are in the service industry getting jobs like delivery drivers or going to grocery stores and having to get jobs there because they're going to be out of work for so long and there's such a demand for those products.
Right, but once bars and restaurants reopen, they'll quit those jobs. No one's going to choose to work a $12 an hour job over a bartending job.
But then other people will fill those jobs.
I know, but I'm saying, like, if you come from experience.
Yeah.
If it were me, I would not choose to work as a cashier at a grocery store over bartending.
But by that time, you would have made so many lifelong friends. How could you bear to say goodbye to them?
The customers or the people
Co-workers
you're checking out?
or customers.
Okay. The co-workers at the grocery store?
Well, you say that with a chuckle.
I'm not. I just don't know.
You've never worked in a grocery store.
I have not. I don't know how much
I have.
How much did you interact with the other people?
Nonstop.
So deli.
Lifelong friends.
And bakery.
I was cleaning up. My job was to clean up the bakery.
Okay.
I had to scrape dough off the floor when the bakery was done. Right? I've told these stories before. I was on a cleaning crew for a bakery at a grocery store. The women who came in for the bakery would come in very, very early to do all their stuff because you got to get donuts ready for rush hour and all that stuff, right?
You were a scrapist.
Cake. I was a scrapist, Bill. I was an unabashed scrapist. Not alleged.
That's where he got his scrapist wit.
Yeah.
And so the women would come in at 4 and they'd be done by noon, right? That was their day, the bakery. And they would leave the entire place in disarray because we're the cleanup crew. We'd come in and do it. So we'd be scraping dough from bits and pieces that were dropped and they were walking all over them all morning, you know? So part of it was cleaning all the equipment in those giant scalding, Bill knows, giant scalding industrial cleaners. Or what, you know. And we had to scrape the floor. We had to wipe everything down. We had to work the loaders to get pallets down for the next day's supplies.
All the floor dough you could eat.
Ooh.
And it turns out I couldn't eat too much of it.
Well, you said which department did you bond with the most?
Well,
as a scrapist.
It's funny because as a scrapist, you figure deli one section over that those are going to be your friends. Just that everybody's so kind of insulated. And because I was a young man, I bonded most closely with, and you're never going to believe this, the checkout girls. Now, my brother married one. My brother's wife, my middle brother's wife, he met her while we were working that job. She was a checkout girl. He and I were on the bakery scrapist team. Didn't bother her at all that he was a scrapist.
Well, he was, you guys had a certain transportation that you'd use to get to work every day.
I don't have that anymore,
don't have
Bill.
that anymore?
No, I'm sorry.
It's on YouTube still.
I don't have that. Of course, you're talking about my scraper bike, I assume.
That is correct.
Yeah, I don't have my scraper bike anymore, Bill. I'm sorry.
Well, I know you don't have it anymore.
I sold it many years ago.
You had it at one point, and it was just the best way to get to work when you were working as a scrapist.
Scraping on my scraper bike, scraping on my scraper bike, on my scraper bike, on my scraper bike, on my scraper bike, on my scraper bike.
Yeah, I don't. Scraper Bike by the Trunk Boys. That is still available on iTunes, by the way.
Oh, such a good song.
I feel like scraper bikes have gone the way of...
I feel like they never really took off.
No, I don't think it is either.
Yeah, I think they were really hoping for scraper bikes to take off, and it just never really did.
Listen, I was happy to give the Trunk Boys their due, but boy, they just couldn't...
They went all in on scraper bikes, those Trunk Boys, which is weird because trunks and bikes don't really work well together.
Yeah, bikes don't have trunks.
Exactly.
They have baskets.
That's
kind of like a trunk.
No, they don't have baskets
That's like a trunk of a bike.
But
if you
it's
put
not
a
on a
basket
scraper bike.
I don't know what a scraper bike is, but a regular
Except to
bike.
watch
Bike
the video.
without a trunk or a basket. Those are the two defining characteristics of a scraper bike.
No trunk, no basket.
And these guys called themselves scrapists, too. So, again, you say that when your bartending job came back, you would leave your grocery store job. You don't know that.
Oh, I didn't think I'd meet a scrapist.
Do you think it was easy for me to leave my grocery store scraping up dough job for college?
Was it?
It was unbelievably easy, but that's not the point. That's not the point, right? Point is, you make some good friends.
Oh, I love the scraper bikes.
Well, sometimes a chapter of your life has to close.
My
Alan.
crepe job, I've made a lot of great friends.
Your crepe job.
You're a crepist? Alan's a scrapist and you're a crepist?
Yeah. He
my
rode his
crepes.
creper bike to work.
Yeah, no. I made some good friends.
With this video. They're like ghost riding their scraper bikes.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's great.
On my scraper, scraping on my scraper bike, on my scraper bike, on my scraper bike, on my scraper bike, on my scraper bike.
Yeah, and there's 3 more minutes to that video too, so that's the really the best part. Maybe scraper bikes do have trunks. Maybe that little thing because they're like
There's one that's like a tricycle.
Tricycle, yeah.
But each scraper bike is very unique.
Is that what it is? You put your own stamp on it?
Yeah.
I feel like all these guys, though, their own stamp was still a pot leaf. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, this one's got like a wheelbarrow, basically.
Right. Alan, tell Mary that's all fine and good for female bartenders, but male bartenders don't make jack squat in tips, and they'll probably keep those other jobs. Don't you split up the tips?
Yeah.
You split them up.
Again, from the places that I've worked, when you work with other people, you pool the tips and split them evenly.
You pool them, but women bartenders do better than guys do.
No, if I'm working with a guy, we split the tips 50-50.
Right, but if you're not, if you were solo and then the guy was solo later on and you compared tips...
Maybe, I don't know.
I think so. I think it's safe to... Well,
He needs to go to a different bar
and
then.
also, it also depends on where you're working. If you're working in like a nightclub, yeah, I guess women would probably do better, but
yeah.
I worked at like a lunch place. Pretty across the board.
Alan, your life really went full circle from dough scraping to crumb catching. Listen, the dough scraping, it's not full circle. The dough scraping and the crumb catching were within a couple of years of each other. The crumb catching was one of my first jobs. The dough scraping came a little bit later.
Which one would you go back to if you had to?
Well, the crumb catching was far more lucrative.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, you crumb caught after you dough scraped?
I crumb caught before I dough scraped.
Really?
Yeah.
You crumb caught in high school?
I started working at the restaurant when I was 15.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And-
I thought crumb caught was like was like college.
No. I was a crumb... I mean, the first 2 summers back, yeah,
Yeah.
I would crumb catch. But the...
So crumb
We
catching,
need like a
dough scraping,
timeline
crumb catching.
of all
well,
of
they were
Alan's
simultaneous.
Okay.
They were simultaneous. The crumb catching was at night. And I wanted to make more money. And so my brother was already at the grocery store, and he goes, you can join the dough scraping
scrapist?
team. Yeah, he goes, you can be a scrapist with me. And I go, okay. So we would do the dough scraping from like noon to 6, and then I would wait tables from like 7 to midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize.
So I think there were a couple of summers where they were concurrent or simultaneous. Yeah. So if your question is, did my crumb catching skills help me in my dough scraping?
Probably.
I'll say no.
Why?
Well, they were 2 completely different implements. You know, the crumb catching, you had the little thing on the tablecloth.
And this you're like jabbing
Yeah,
into the floor.
it was like a stick with a blade. Yeah, you really had to scrape.
Yeah.
Scrape.
Scraping with your scraper tool.
Scraping with my scraper tool. That's right. So, and we were very serious about it. None of us ever cried scrape when it wasn't a real thing. We never alleged
You took
it.
scrape culture very serious.
We took scrape culture very seriously, Bill. You're
No
absolutely
scrape
correct.
jokes.
No, well, we made plenty of scrape jokes. Yes.
But what if others made scrape jokes?
Well, that was a different thing. They were working over in the deli. They didn't know the scrape life.
They were doing meat too jokes.
It was the crepe life.
Meat too jokes.
Yes.
That's right. They were over there on the slicers. That's right. Yes. That's precisely what happened. I've got a break on that note. I hope that's been inspirational to anyone. Okay. I'll have, I don't know. Oh, we'll get some more calls from the Alan Cox Show After Hours line. If you want to join us there, you can. 216-986-8903, 35192 if you want to text.
It's the Alan Cox Show on 100.7 WMMS. And everywhere you go on our free iHeartRadio.